Hi everyone! Welcome to this webinar. Is everyone ready? Okay, today we're going to talk about my favorite topic, digital marketing in Philippines, opportunities and beyond. My name is Hazel from Apex Global, a leading services training consulting provider in Southeast Asia. I will be your host for today. I would like you all to introduce our digital marketing lead and global evangelist, Mr. Greg Jarboe. He is the author of Amazon's bestseller book called YouTube and Video Marketing an Hour a Day. He is also the president and co-founder of SEO PR, an award-winning content marketing agency in Silicon Valley. He is also a member of the steering committee of OMC. Together with Greg, we intend to share some best practices and strategies in digital marketing, especially focusing in Philippines. All right, we are all set to roll. We have Greg on the other line, and let's welcome him together. Welcome, Greg. Over to you.
So, welcome everyone. We are going to try to do something a little different than you may have encountered in other webinars. We're going to try to flip the webinar. So, some of you have already downloaded the slides for this, and that's great. Even if you haven't, all the slides are available, so don't worry. That's one of the first questions we always get asked, and yep, you'll get access to all the slides. But what I really want to encourage you to do is, as we go through this, as opposed to holding your questions for the end, if something stirs your interest, let us know. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can unmute yourself and ask a question. You can, I think there is a chat capability here that you can also use, but feel free to jump in. One of the reasons why hopefully all of you are here, it's certainly why I'm here, is the world is changing and the internet is changing it. According to the latest data from Mary Meeker, who's one of the key analysts at Kleiner Perkins, who I've known since, boy, I guess and in her most recent report that came out just a month or two ago, she said there are now 3.4 billion internet users worldwide. It's a significant percentage. It's like close to half. It's 46% penetration globally. And the Philippines is a full participant in this phenomena. There's the latest data available is about a year old, but even a year ago, there were close to 44.5 million internet users in just the Philippines. And interestingly enough, the Philippines ranked #1 in terms of the average time people used the internet, about 5 hours and 30 minutes a week. Or pardon me, I think that may be actually a daily number. And that is a real intense usage, and it's growing rapidly. So if you are in business and you are trying to, quote, reach customers, you know, the internet plays a key role. And one of the interesting things is there are a lot of people say, yeah, but I don't have an e-commerce business, so the internet isn't that important to me, is it? And the answer is, even if you have, let's say, a traditional retail business, people are doing their research online before they come into your store. And what that means is a whole lot of things that used to matter in retail marketing have inverted, they've changed. And if your customers already know the make and model they're looking for before they, let's say, come to test drive a car, for example, you know, that totally changes the game. It really does. So whether you are selling online or you are just trying to market to customers, the internet changes the game. And this is also true for small and medium-sized businesses. This is not just a phenomenon that's changing big business. your customers are using search engines, they're using social networks, they're using discount sites before they come to your website. And so you need to be found in search, you need to be active in social media, you need to participate where your prospects are, or they may never make it to your website. Now, that then brings us to what we're going to attempt to do in this OMCA course. I'm supposed to, in 40 hours, teach you everything you need to know. And that's, it sounds like a lot of time. Why would I need to take 40 hours? I look at it as like, wow, it's taken me more than a decade to get my arms around all of this. I started in this field in 1999. It's certainly changed a lot. In fact, one of the interesting things is 15 years ago, people don't remember this, but Google passed Alta Vista to become the #1 search engine. I was there when it happened. Alta Vista was a sister company to a company I was working at, and we watched them go down as Google went up, and that just changed the landscape. But back then, Google had difficulty indexing all the content that was out there 15 years ago. So what they would do is they would update their index about once a month. We used to call this the Google dance, because all the rankings would change because Google had now refreshed its index. Well, today Google changes its rankings over 500 times a year. That's about twice every business day. So the Google dance is now, you know, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and you know, every day it's different and different and different. And so I'm going to try to teach you the best practices in search engine optimization, for example, that will get you where you need to go, despite the fact that things are changing pretty rapidly. Same thing is happening over at Facebook. Facebook has a mantra, move fast and break things, and they do. And every time you think you know how Facebook works, it changes. In fact, there have been 8 major changes in just the last 6 months. And particularly in the Facebook newsfeed, if you're not found in the newsfeed, you're not found. And Facebook is now, its latest change basically says if you've got a low quality content, we're not going to rank that pretty high in the newsfeed. And that again, it alters the rules. So again, in this course, we're going to try to teach you the latest best practices, understanding that in about a year, you're going to probably want a refresh, and not necessarily a new course, but you're definitely going to want to go to industry conferences or read industry blogs, because again, things are just moving that quickly. Now, I happen to teach courses in content marketing. That's one of my specialties. That's what my agency specializes in. We've won a number of awards doing it, but what we've found is that it's gotten really crowded lately. There's about 4.6 billion pieces of content produced daily. So 5 years ago, it was great if you had a blog, you might stand out. Today, you and everyone else has a blog, and quote, having a blog and posting occasionally no longer, you know, is sufficient. You get lost in the crowd. So again, part of what we will cover in this course is what you can do to make your content truly remarkable. And that's really what it takes these days to stand out. Average just is lost in the sea of competitors. Now, the other big trend that's, you know, you're no stranger to this. I think all of you understand this one, but I just wanted to give you a personal anecdote of how it's impacted me. I wrote a book. I wrote a second edition of that book. It was published in November of 2011. So, you may have read in some of the material that makes him a best-selling author, or you should come take his course. Well, you should come take the course. Don't read the book. And the reason you shouldn't read the book is this. It was published 6 years ago. And at the time, only 6% of YouTube views were coming from mobile devices. So I do mention mobile in my book, but not very often, because back then it didn't matter that much. Well, by 2012, that percentage had grown to 25%. By 2013 to 40%. 2014 went to 50%. Today, 70% of the videos watched on YouTube are being watched on mobile devices. And trust me, the mobile experience is radically different than watching a video on a desktop. And if you're a marketer, you suddenly have to think about the small screen first. This is not the second place that you're going to get around to after you create that great video for the desktop. The mobile medium is where you need to start, and the rules are different. And just starting with people's orientation, they're generally holding that mobile device in a vertical position, and that means all those crazy pieces of advice that you got 5 years ago about don't create vertical videos. Now the best practice is, yes, please create vertical videos. The world has changed.
Hey Greg, I have a question.
Yep. Yeah.
On the YouTube one, it's a very interesting topic because I've noticed that in Philippines, the video marketing should ideally work really well, and it's not really explored much. But tell me more about the rules that the YouTube plays with. I've heard that they don't charge if the advertisement does not play for more than 30 seconds. Is that true?
Yeah, YouTube came up with a new pricing for their advertising. It's the name for it is called True View. And in TrueView advertising, they'll run a video before, let's say I wanted to see a video about a TED Talk. And so I click on the video. Well, before the TED Talk video starts, a commercial basically comes on. And about 5 seconds into that commercial, a little button will appear that says skip ad. Now think about this. Google is the world's largest company in terms of ad sales. And who in their right mind selling advertising would allow their viewer to say skip the ad? And YouTube did. That's what it's radical. But what that means is if you do not catch people's attention in that first 5 seconds, they can skip what you have and go straight to what it was that they wanted to watch. So you do not have, like in television, where, I'm sorry, I've got the screen wanted to or not. Now you actually have to capture them. Now, if they skip your ad, you pay nothing. That's what's radical. But what that means is you have to work harder to get their attention, but if you don't, you don't pay anything. So in that environment, again, all the rules are inverted, and whatever you learned about making, let's say, television commercials are literally out the window. You've got to rethink everything from the ground up. And instead of saving the punchline for the end, you've got to hook people at the beginning. It's a very, very different experience. But from a financial point of view, people have to watch at least 30 seconds of your ad before you're charged for it. So you're getting engaged viewers, makes your money go a lot longer, a lot farther.
Correct. I think it is really radical, and it actually points out to 2 different topics that can branch out from this portion, which is one, the YouTube does not charge for the impressions in that case, right? Like Facebook does. So by the time the ad is skipped, I already have an impression, which is brilliant, and I've not paid for it. One, and second, what if I make the advertisement just for 10 seconds? Do I never pay for it?
Yeah, you do. So the rule, because YouTube anticipated that, it's you watch up to 30 seconds or the duration of your video. So if you make a 10-second video, then at 10 seconds they charge you. If you make a 15-second video, at the end of 15 seconds they'll charge you, because it's either 30 seconds for a longer video or to the end if you've got something that's shorter. At Facebook, however, they'll charge you after people have watched 3 seconds. So again, there is a big controversy in the industry because Facebook has basically redefined what is a view, and for them a view is 3 seconds. At YouTube, a view is 30 seconds. And so, pardon me, that's a factor of 10 difference. That's apples and oranges. That's, even though they both use the same term, view. So a lot of people get caught up comparing views on Facebook to views on YouTube. They are not the same.
I agree. In fact, I recently attended one of the conference from Google, and one of the guys there was trying to position Google as that they don't charge for the impressions. But my point is that the social media should not be compared to the Google, because Google is reactive and the social media marketing is more proactive. So in Google's search query, you won't be shown an ad till the time you search for it. So we should not be comparing the apples to oranges anyway. So the Google should stop it. The Facebook should stop it. Do you agree?
Well, getting Google and Facebook to do the same thing at the same time would be a monstrous task. Most of us in the industry just try to understand it and realize that they're playing by different rules. And as a marketer, let's put it this way: if you wanted to do marketing in, let's say, India and China, you would realize they're different countries, they have different rules, you need to market differently. Well, if you're marketing in Facebook and YouTube, you're marketing in literally different nations. I mean, think about this. Facebook just passed 2 billion active monthly users. YouTube just announced 2 weeks ago that it was at 1.5 billion registered logged in viewers. And what that means is both of those, Facebook and YouTube, are now larger in population than China and India as countries. So again, it is worth your while understanding the differences and marketing differently in different places.
So it's a very interesting thought. That means if we are not doing digital marketing, we're basically missing on a huge economy.
It is the new world, and we're just trying to market in it. So it's an interesting challenge.
It's a very interesting challenge. Sounds good. Do you think we should move on?
Yeah, so speaking of advertising, that then brings us to pay-per-click advertising. And you'll find that in most digital marketing budgets, the biggest part of the budget goes to pay-per-click advertising. But most of that money is going straight to Google. Google, among all the different rules that had changed, decided not to give agencies the standard 15% commission that media companies have been giving agencies for 100 years. And so what that means is when you buy pay-per-click advertising, that's the money that you're paying Google for the ad. If you have someone creating it for you, whether that's an agency or even an employee in-house, that cost is on top of whatever it is that you're paying for the advertising. There's no agency discount to cover that cost. And again, that makes a lot of people uncomfortable because it's not the way it used to be done. But more importantly, it's led to some bad practices which is, well, let's try to minimize those labor costs since they're added on top. We'll set our ad campaign, and we'll only have our agency come back and look at it once a month to see how it's doing. That doesn't work because it is an auction-based system. There are literally millions of other advertisers participating in that auction. They're changing their bidding strategies daily, sometimes hourly, and set it and forget it does not work in pay-per-click. And again, we'll cover that in this course. We'll talk about the new best practices that have evolved so that you can keep track of that world. And then this next slide is all words, no pictures, and I apologize for that. I don't mean to not have some visual component here, but I wanted to tell you a personal story. About 30 years ago, I was the director of corporate communications at a company called Lotus Development Corporation. They were the makers of Lotus 123, which was spreadsheet software. It was the most popular independent software company at that time. And when I got hired, I collected the 700 newspaper and magazine article clippings about our company over the first month I was on the job, and I put them in a report, and I calculated how many column inches of coverage we got, and if we had purchased that at advertising, what it would have been worth, blah, 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 blah. Took it down to the CEO and dropped it on his desk. And he took a quick look at it and said, Jarboe, if I could deposit these little pieces of paper in a bank, I would know what they're worth. But all your estimates are just estimates. And until you can draw a straight line between what you've done and revenue, cold hard cash, don't waste my time with these so-called reports. Well, that was tough, but it turns out he was right. And one of the things that we're going to teach you in this course, particularly when we get to the web analytics part, is you can now measure that. I have been able to show my clients, for example, and I'll teach you how to do this too, how to connect those dots, how to show what it is that you're doing, either in social media or in search engine optimization or in content marketing or email marketing, you name it. Not only how much traffic it brings into your site, but what percentage of that traffic then becomes a lead or becomes a sale. How much is that sale worth? By the way, what did that program cost? Therefore, how profitable was this marketing effort? That's the new measurement that everybody is looking for. And I couldn't do it 30 years ago. I can do it today, and I'm going to teach you how to do it so that you don't encounter that kind of moment with somebody down the line. This is something that you can solve. And if you do, and you take all of these courses, you get a certificate. And some people would say, well, I guess that's nice. You get to put it on my wall, and so what? And I think that's the right question to ask. So what? Well, it turns out more and more employers, particularly as they are looking for people who have skills in digital marketing, are trying to differentiate people who say, yeah, I know this stuff, from people who say, yeah, and I have a certificate that shows it. And increasingly, it turns out this one organization, founded in the United States, but it's now gone global, called OMCP, has created the certification process that guides both what I teach, but also the exams that we'll be offering and OMCP offers to certify that you actually know this stuff. And that certification can actually get you a job, get you a promotion. It certainly will make you stand out from the crowd of other job applicants that people are seeing. People who say, yeah, I'm familiar with this, but I've got nothing here to prove it. And in fact, OMCP has done some research and found that there's about on average, about a 16% increase in salary for their graduates. Again, because it's not just the certificate. All the certificate does is basically verify the competencies and the skills that you've learned, and certifies that, yeah, you know this stuff. And it's that knowledge that actually sets you apart. So we're going to cover a lot of things in 5 days. I just wanted to go over sort of the course schedule. We're going to start off with pay-per-click advertising because that's what gets the largest budgets. We're going to go to search engine optimization because both PPC and SEO share Google results in the sense that if you do a search in Google, 2 things will appear: the organic free results, but also the paid listings. So we put those 2 together in Monday. On Tuesday, we're going to start off in the morning with social media marketing, and then in the afternoon cover content marketing. On Wednesday, we're going to start off in the morning with email marketing, and in the afternoon go to marketing automation. On Thursday, we're going to go through web analytics in the morning, and in the afternoon, we'll cover conversion optimization. And then on Friday morning, we're going to wrap it all up with mobile marketing so that by Friday afternoon, we can take an exam, take you through the kind of exam that you will see for OMCA certification, which is separate from what we're going to be doing. And again, we're going to, in 40 hours, teach you basically soup to nuts, everything that you're going to need to know in this new, growing, complex, fast-changing industry.
Hey, Greg, I have another question.
Yep.
On the previous slide.
Yeah.
Again, reading some article, and somewhere it says that although the organizations invest a lot on the PPC, but the user behavior is towards clicking on the organic results instead of inorganic. What are your thoughts on that?
That certainly was the case back in what I'll call the desktop era. So let's say 7 years ago, the data was out there that 90% of the clicks came through SEO and only 10% of the clicks came through PPC, because people tended to look at the organic results first. Well, that was back when the PPC ads were off to the right rail. But as Google changed things for the mobile device, and as more and more people started using mobile devices, if you do a search today on Google, either using the Google app or even the web version, the first 4 things you're going to see at the top of the search results are ads. You literally have to scroll down before you find the first organic results. So that is dramatically improving Google's earnings. They're delighted to tell you how much money they're making. But for marketing, what that means is that, Google doesn't want to give as much away for free as they used to. So yeah, PPC is now the first thing that you see.
Great. Are we also going to cover some of the display advertising or remarketing approaches as well? I mean, they're pretty cheap and pretty quick in Philippines, so.
Yeah. Remarketing is part of what we'll cover in the PPC course. Remarketing is one of the ways that you can target people. We've seen a lot of people use it effectively. We've seen a lot of people use it ineffectively. So remarketing in and of itself is not like magic or the secret sauce. It is a way of targeting people if you know what to do next. So one of the effective things that we will cover is if somebody's used, let's say, your shopping cart, but they abandon it partway through, which is a real common problem. You could use remarketing to say, hey, you were interested enough to put this in the shopping cart, but you didn't complete the purchase. Can I offer you a discount over the next 24 hours? Or all of a sudden now you're remarketing intelligently, as opposed to just stalking people every time they pop up somewhere else on the internet. You've been to my site, I'm going to show you another ad. It's that turns out to be a waste of money.
I agree. I agree.
So what else? Maybe a little bit about me. I've been training for or teaching for the last 15 years. They've mentioned that I've written books. I have written books. I've contributed to other books. I got interviewed by an author named Michael Miller for a book called Online Marketing Heroes. So I'm considered one of the 25 successful online marketing gurus. My wife likes to remind me that that and about $4 will buy me a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So, you know, hey, I'm a guru. Anyway, but I'm also writing about this in a number of blogs. So I try to practice what I preach, both with my clients, when I speak at industry conferences, when I teach at, let's say, the Rutgers Business School, which is where I teach some in-course, in-class courses, and hopefully you can take advantage of all of that. And there is a purpose to all of this. You know, after 5 days together, you will probably know more about Boston Red Sox baseball than you ever wanted to know. But you will also know a lot more about Google Analytics and Google AdWords and Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. And you're going to learn everything that I can share with you about content marketing and conversion optimization and email marketing and marketing automation and mobile marketing and PPC advertising and SEO and social media marketing and web analytics. And what that will enable you to do is put together a plan, execute it effectively, and be more successful in the digital marketing space. And oh, by the way you will demonstrate that to others who may not have met you before is to take this OMCA exam and get that certificate, which basically says, you know, he or she knows his stuff. And what's that good for? Well, this is what the job market looks like. And for those of you who want to cherry pick, I can't take all 9 of these courses. I can't get the whole week. Yep. Did I lose you? Let me just say that most of the jobs are in social media. That's what they're hiring today. So again, focus on what makes sense for you. But these are the skills that people are looking for. That's how we put together this particular curriculum to match up what you will be learning to what employers are looking for. There's a real close correlation. And again, then you can take the exam, and there's a process to that. These are all in your slides, so you can sort of look through that. And even if you don't take the exam, and you don't have to, if you pass the exam that we'll be holding in the course, you'll get a certificate for that, and that may be all you want or need. That's up to you. And oh, by the way, if you are really experienced at this, you may want to just skip all this and go take the exam, period. You can take the OMCA course without, or the exam without taking this course if you have more than 600 hours of experience and more than half a dozen of these disciplines. So you could basically say this 40-hour investment is the equivalent of 600 hours of experience. At least that's how OMCP sees it. So what we're going to try to do is, you know, put you on the fast track. But if you're already fairly experienced, you may want to just, you know, examine going straight to the exam. That's up to you. And at the end of the day, we will cover some tools in this course. I often get questions, what tools will we learn? And the answer is, yeah, you'll learn some new tools, ones that I use. But I have a good friend named Avinash Kaushik, who happens to be the digital evangelist at Google, but I knew Avinash before he got that job. He used to work at Intuit when I first met him. And basically what Avinash has is what he calls the 1090 rule. And he says, when it comes to analyzing your results, about 10% of the results will be because of which tool you used. But 90% of the results will be depend on the people who use them. Did they use them in a smart way? Did they use them in an effective way? That's the 1090 rule. And I try to apply that in my course. Yes, 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 you'll learn about some new tools. But what I really, really hope to teach you is how to use them effectively. You know, the magic isn't in the tool. The magic is in understanding what it is you're trying to accomplish and picking the right tool to accomplish it. So with that, hopefully we have plenty of time for any other questions.
Oh, yes, thanks, Greg. That's a great presentation. We do have some of the questions from participants who have already asked these questions while they were signing up. So let me just bounce some to you. Are you ready?
Yep, fire away.
All right. So here's one from Karen. She's from Thompson, and she has asked if she can leverage the social media marketing for recruitment and employee engagement.
You're going to have to repeat the question again. Social media marketing and employee engagement, was that it?
Exactly. You got that right.
Okay. Yes, it turns out one of the things that is actually in the course, which is going to sound strange, but you know, hang with me for a second. One of the employers who teaches each and every one of its employees how to use social media effectively is the United States Air Force. And I know that's surprising. It's like, excuse me, what? But what the Air Force does is train literally every one of their members, you know, not only how to respond to comments about, let's say, life in the Air Force, but when not to respond to those comments. And they literally have a chart that walks you through best practices of, you know, when to do nothing, when to notify somebody else, when to jump in and answer a comment yourself. And we'll cover those best practices in this course, because what the Air Force has discovered is that if it came from the PR department, it doesn't have the same credibility as if it comes from, you know, I'm a real Air Force is actually one of the interesting pioneers in turning their entire employee workforce into advocates. Now, it turns out this is also the case in the commercial world too. I've done a lot of work with Southwest Airlines in the United States, and they too empower their employees to be their basically, you know, marketing department in social media. And there are rules of engagement. You know, there are best practices. They try not to do anything that's going to backfire on the company. But, you know, employee engagement is actually a very sophisticated and very savvy way of leveraging social media, low cost, but highly effective.
Superb, superb. Greg, here's another one from a freelancer. His name is Joseph Way, and he's asking, where can I get the most number of links, say nearly 5,000 links for off-page optimization?
Well, in the early days, you could go buy them. That will now get you into deep, 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 deep trouble. Don't buy links. Just don't buy them. Not only does Google know who's doing it algorithmically, they can find you, but they also have oh, how do I say this? Mystery shoppers out there who are trying to buy and sell links just to bust you. So don't go there. That once worked 15 years ago doesn't work today. If you want to get a lot of links, and I've had clients who wanted to get a lot of links, one of the things that we leverage that Google approves of, and it still works, is news. And so I'll give you the example. We did some work for Parents Magazine, which is published by the Meredith Corporation. And they launched a new part of their website that was going to deal with toy recalls. So every now and then, toys have defects. The government issues a recall notice. Well, it turns out nobody keeps track of all those notices. What Parents Magazine did was put together a site that kept that list up to date and provided parents with one place to go for all the recall information. So if they were planning to buy a toy for, let's say, Christmas, or they were planning to buy a toy for a birthday, there was a place to go to get that information. And our job was to promote that, do some PR, but particularly to do the PR in places that would give us an inbound link that had authority. And it turns out that the places who give links and have lots of authorities are called the news media. So we built an old-fashioned PR campaign, but the payoff was not just, quote, publicity, but it was links. So again, there's a way to get a lot of links, but it really helps if you have really serious, important, newsworthy things happening.
I agree. I think one of the good ways to earn the links is also the relationship building that you can do with the good authors, right?
Sometimes. It turns out they are all too busy these days to give you links. So yeah, that worked for a while, but unless you have incriminating photos. Now, if you have incriminating photos, then you can get a link.
I agree.
That was a joke. That was a joke.
Okay. Greg, there's this question on the chat box for you that I was just reading just before I could catch a joke there. I'm sorry, but I was just reading one of the questions for you from LA. I'm not sure if I got the name right, but they're saying, we just want to ask, what can you advise the companies that are more focused in local or store marketing / retail marketing to integrate into social media or digital marketing? So what do you advise for the companies who are into local marketing or the retail marketing?
Yeah, we're going to cover local marketing in both the SEO course, but also in some of the other courses, because it turns out something like 1 out of every 3 searches now done on Google has some kind of local angle. And particularly in mobile, which is one of the other courses where we'll talk about local. One of the most popular search terms that's just exploded over the last couple of years is the phrase "near me" at the end of any other phrase. So I'm looking for a restaurant near me. Well, wait a second. How do I know where near you is? Well, if you've got a mobile device that's got a GPS system in it, Google knows where you are, and it will give you results that are near you. And so it turns out understanding that process in either SEO or in mobile marketing, and we'll cover it in both places, gives you a huge advantage, even if all you want is not people to go to your website, but to walk into your restaurant or to walk into your store. So we'll be dealing with local.
Awesome. Greg, we have another one. I think I can answer that, but it's a simple question that the ads that plays in the middle of the video for YouTube while watching anything. The question is that the ad in the middle of the video while watching in YouTube, no option to skip. That ad plays, and I think Greg, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but YouTube tends to randomize the display of the ads to an extent that It should run for some users. It gives an option for the same content to be played in others, or it allows to skip randomly.
Yeah, this is an area that is about to change. So there were a number of advertisers that didn't like the idea that people could skip their ads, and YouTube wanted their money too. So they sold some non-skippable ad formats. What they discovered though is that their users hated them, and so what YouTube has announced is that by later this year they're going to phase those unskippable versions of their ad out. All ads will be skippable. So again, you may see it now, you may be able to buy it in the short term, but it's going away.
Okay, that's news to me as well. Great. Okay, there's another one from the same person. He's saying on PewDiePie and the WSJ issue, how did this affect advertisements in PH?
Yeah, no, that was huge. It was called the adpocalypse because basically what happened is a number of people found that their ads were running next to content they found unsavory. They stopped advertising basically close to the end of March. By the beginning of April, YouTube had already corrected many of the problems. Most of those advertisers came back. So at VidCon, which I spoke at basically at the end of June, there were a number of case studies there of companies that had gone through a sudden decline in their ad revenue on YouTube. And they talked about what they needed to do to, basically come back. And some of it was advertisers just coming back, after their quote brief protest. But the other part was people had to be far more sensitive about some of the terms they were using in their metadata. So, for example, there was one advertiser or one video creator who had created a funny video of a person who basically fell and did what is called a face plant, and people love watching other people fall. But in the metadata, it described it as they skinned their head in the fall. Well, it turns out skinhead is also a term that is used for, particularly in Europe, people who are, not the group that you would want to associate with. So it turned out they were losing ads, not because their video was that offensive. It was actually quite funny, but because they had to be more precise that the person had fallen, but they were okay, as opposed to they'd skin their head because skinhead has other meanings. They showed another version of a video where a pigeon flew off the side of a building, but they had titled it "Pigeon Jumps Off Building." Well, jumping off a building is inciting people to commit suicide. That ad got demonetized and they couldn't sell ads against it because, again, the title was misleading. So they retitled the video and advertisers came back. So part of it is temporary. A lot of advertisers went away, but then by early April had returned. And part of it is now you have to be a lot more careful that your content isn't mislabeled as potentially offensive, not because the content is, but because you've used some words to describe it that can get you into trouble.
Great, agree. We have another one. I think we can accommodate a little more. If you guys want to just include that in the chat box, feel free to drop your questions for Greg to answer. We do have a scope for accommodating a couple of more. So we can pull up the sheet that people fill up the first time, but we do like to address the people right in here right now. Okay, here's another one coming in from Jesse. He's asking, can you rank high in Google without spending much amount?
Yes, but it's harder than it used to be. And so here are the things you need to do. You need to figure out what makes you the best answer for a particular search. And increasingly, you're not going to rank very well if you're new for what I'm going to call 1- and 2-word terms, because they're too general, and there have been too many people over the years who have done really great optimization jobs for 1- and 2-word terms. What we are finding, though, is that most of those people did that work 5 years ago, and they think they're done. What they haven't watched is that user behavior has changed since then. And the average search term that people are now entering into the search box in Google is 3 words long. So one of the first things that we do when we want to get ranked for something is we look for a 3-word term. And oh, by the way, inside most 3-word terms is a 2-word term. And so what we try to do is get high ranking on the 3-word term in a short period of time, and over time work our way up the listings for the 2-word term that's inside this. I call this process the Russian nesting doll, because if you've ever seen Russian nesting dolls, there's a little doll inside of a medium-sized doll inside of a big doll. Well, we look for Russian nesting dolls. We look for search terms that are, let's say, 3 words long, that have a 2-word term nestled inside of it, which has a 1-word term nestled inside of it. And we then optimize for that longer, bigger phrase, because it has the best chance now of getting a high ranking sooner. And again, over time, if you've got really great content, you can actually move up the listings for the 2- and the 1-word variations as well.
I agree. I think is 3 words still considered to be the shortcut keywords, or I mean, you will still charge a premium on those, right?
Yeah, one of the interesting things is even though more people are doing their searches on mobile devices, the search terms on a mobile device are actually slightly longer than the ones that we saw on desktop devices a few years ago. And part of that is people have learned that if I want to get the precise answer to what I'm looking for, I need to add that 3rd term. So it's a little apples and oranges. It's 2 words were popular on desktops 5 years ago, 3 words are popular on mobile today, but that change in behavior means that you want longer terms.
Correct. All right, we have another one coming in from Yanni, and likes to know, how do I market or promote a new blog site? Are the platforms exclusive to marketing personal blogs?
Yeah, blogs were hot once. I spoke at the very first social media conference back in 2004 when blogs were all the rage. Today, you know, people will go to a website and not even know it's a blog. It's just a website. So having a blog isn't magic by itself. It turns out the good news is that WordPress, for example, is a lot more search friendly than some websites that are created with content management systems that unfortunately sometimes make it hard for Google to crawl. So the good news is you have the potential using a blog of getting found in search results. But increasingly, one of the things that we encourage people who have blogs is when you have a post, make sure that you have a lot of social sharing buttons. So if I can tweet about this blog, if I can share it to Facebook, if I can share it to LinkedIn, if I can pin it to Pinterest, etc., your blog post is going to get more likely to get found in social media than it will, just because I've got a blog. The other interesting thing that's happened is Google, as they changed their what they called their rules for quality content, and this started with the Panda update in 2011, It now turns out in the old days, and I've been blogging, I've written over 1,200 blog posts in the last 12 years, writing for Search Engine Watch or other blog sites. In the old days, my editors would ask me to write a 600-word long post because that was best practice. Today, the blog that I write for, Tubular Insights, my editor isn't happy unless I've got about 1,500 to 2,000 words in a post. And part of that is being driven by Google. Google considers longer content more authoritative because you've got more time to tell your story. And again, what that means is even if you've been blogging for a long time, you may need to update what you think a good post looks like.
What are the tips for someone who's just starting off in the digital marketing industry and someone who is struggling a bit? What do you suggest, Greg? What should they do?
Well, this is like life advice, you know. There's only one thing you need to do. Yeah, life would be easy if I could give you one thing to go focus on. What I can share with you is something that seems to have worked for me in my long career, which is if everybody is headed in one direction, take a look in the other direction. So for example, I showed you the jobs. Everyone's looking to hire somebody in social media marketing. Great. Well, you can join the crowd and rush in that direction because, you know, it's popular. One of the things I would encourage you to do is to take a look at content marketing, which is a little lower down on that list of where the new jobs are, but will teach you, if you are going to get into social media marketing, how to make that social media marketing more effective. If you have bland content, if you have what everyone else is doing, guess what? Everyone else is on social media too. It doesn't work for you the way it was when very few businesses were in social media. So my best advice to you, if you're just starting out, is look for an area that you can make your own. You're going to have to get your foot in the door somewhere, and it will help if you are one of the few people who specialize in, let's say, mobile marketing, or if you're one of the few people who specialize in content marketing, or if you understand marketing automation. Everybody and their cousin knows how to do email marketing. Not so many people know how to do marketing automation. So find that specialty, and that will make you more valuable sooner in your career.
That's a good suggestion, Greg. I think I'll just add up that taking this training course that's coming up in the middle of next month would be a good advice to kickstart wherever you are in your career in digital marketing. Feel free to join us in the middle of next month. I think it's 14th or 15th of August, starting in Makati, in Holiday Inn, for 5 days. Do take this course. I'm sure it's going to be helpful for you to decide your career path.
And I hope to see you there. I'm coming over a little early so I can adjust to the 12-hour time zone change. And I look forward to meeting you and answering questions face-to-face in class. This webinar was designed to give you samples, but that's really all we could sort of squeeze into an hour. We're going to have 40 hours to get into all the gnarly details.
Like you said. Okay, I think we'll just take up the last question that should address the masses, and that is what is the best strategies in digital marketing that could be a fit in the future in the field of real estate? It is asked by Edwin.
Edmund, this is going to sound futuristic, but it's not. One of the hottest applications of virtual reality that I have seen is in the real estate business. Because anybody who wants to consider buying a property wants to see it first. And that's one of the reasons why real estate websites were early with here's photos. I've got 43 photos so you can see everything in the building. What real estate now realizes is that what people want is that 3D walkthrough. So in real estate, it may mean that you've got to get out there on the leading edge, because virtual reality is still not as mature as some of the other categories that we're going to be covering, like email marketing. But for real estate, that is the key solution to your customer problem.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Greg. I think we have covered a lot, and we have kind of tried to accommodate as much questions as possible. I still have like dozens of questions pending with me, but I think we're running out of time. I would suggest you all to just show up, at least meet us here in Apex Global. We would love to answer questions. We do have some special promos going on if you want to sign up today. We have kind of split the sessions, the 5-day, into smaller digestible sessions, which are going to last like 4 hours. So you can sign up for each individual pieces separately if you like. We have tried to accommodate as much needs as for you, so that if your businesses are focusing on email marketing or looking forward for social media only, feel free to join in only those classes. But my suggestion, or Greg's suggestion as well, that do look forward to the entire 5 days of training, because that makes you a wholesome digital marketer. It's not just about one digital marketing technique that you may want to learn about. Feel free to sign up for the full class or a part of that. That's your choice. Greg, some last words from you.
You want a last word of wisdom?
We won't mind that.
Okay, well, it has been a long, strange trip. I didn't plan to get here. The internet sort of came along and I got swept up in it. I was at a company called Ziff Davis. We published magazines. Anyone remember magazines? But in 1995, we decided to make a strategic investment in a little startup called Yahoo. And by virtue of that investment, I got sent off to Europe to launch Yahoo France, Yahoo Germany, Yahoo UK, and I ended up in this field sort of by accident. But that was 20 years ago. Here we are 20 years later, and I hope to share that with you so that, now that we know that that's not just, a gamble or a risk, this internet thing is around. It's only grown bigger. It's going to reshape your life. Better to master it sooner. It will make for a very fun and rapidly changing career.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Greg. Those are good last words to leave with. Thank you so much, everyone. We wish to see you soon. All right. Cheers and bye-bye.
Bye.